Hey, welcome on in, guys. Tobin here with you, and thanks for checking out the channel. Hope you're doing fantastic out there. If you guys could subscribe, that'd be great, and appreciate you stopping by the channel. Also, subscribe to the Tobin and Leroy Show on all of your podcast platforms, and especially on YouTube, where you guys can watch us there every single day, weekday, live from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., and then all clips there on demand as well. I got Joe Rose, who we come on after on QAM. I believe will be up there soon. Finally getting Joe Rose onto the YouTube space, so that'll be exciting as well. But the Miami Dolphins making some news today. It is time to get back into some Dolphins action on this channel, as this is going to be a very interesting offseason for your Miami Dolphins. You saw Philadelphia win the Super Bowl. They're having their parade today. It takes me back to the Cats parade. But the big news today, 3 players, as I do this at 5 p.m. on Friday, have been cut by the Miami Dolphins. They put out an official team statement, but the news broke today around 2 p.m. that Raheem Mostert was no longer going to be with the Miami Dolphins. News that was broken today by his agent, Brad Tessler, who tweeted out, "Looks like my client Raheem Mostert will be playing elsewhere next season. Very thankful for his time with the Miami Dolphins, and this gives them a chance to get younger and gives him a chance to pursue a ring elsewhere." Raheem Mostert obviously had a very, very, very challenging season last year between injuries and turnovers and, losing basically his gig to Devon Achane, the man who has the franchise record for touchdowns, for rushing touchdowns, is a Mike McDaniel guy who was really, one of the guys who spoke into existence the belief in Mike McDaniel. Was also probably the guy that Mike McDaniel held the most accountable this year for his follies. I mean, you think about some of the shortcomings that he had on the field this year. Raheem Mostert was actually the guy that Mike went at, I think, the most. How much of this had to do with age? How much of this had to do with maybe injury early on in the season that he just wasn't able to ever really bounce back from? I don't know. That is hard to say, but we are in this day and age with running backs where the fact that Raheem Mostert was as productive as he was into his 30s was a bit of an anomaly and very, very impressive. And then you add on top of it the fact that, he is a speed guy that plays with a little bit of aggression when he's on the outside and gets ahead of steam, but isn't necessarily, your between the tackles runner as well. And so you just wondered how long the Dolphins were going to hold on to that. Obviously, they made a draft this year with Jalen Wright. This was a season where Jeff Wilson basically was out of the fold and all that. And so with him not having any guaranteed money this year, not too surprising, I'd say, that Raheem Mostert is gone. Will somebody pick him up? I think is an interesting question because, if the Miami Dolphins come after this by the end of all of this, would they revisit it a la and Emmanuel Agba? Perhaps, just because of how much McDaniel loves the dude and has a relationship with him, or is that a well they could go to eventually? Maybe. I don't know. Especially at the point of his career, is Raheem Mostert gonna slow roll it and see where's the perfect place to kind of fit it? Probably. That's probably the direction it's gonna go. But you have Tyreek Hill, who is tweeting, even though he's in the midst of always in the midst of headlines and things like that. He tweeted out, "I'm gonna miss my bud Heem," with a crying emoji. Sad. He also. And, I'm sure we'll get news as to why he tweeted this out. And this could just be pure trolling because it is Tyreek, so take Cheetah for his word. But he also put out a mind-blown emoji today at around 4:30. So, we'll see what that means if he's got something. Now, cap situation, it doesn't feel like it. There has been a lot of headlines around Tyreek Hill and getting moved on, but because if they do it before June, there's a lot more of a penalty to that for the Miami Dolphins. I don't imagine anything is going to happen with him anytime soon. Maybe you guys saw this, maybe you didn't. I don't know. Bill Simmons, who I'm no huge fan of, had said that he had saw this went viral on Chargers Twitter, where he had seen Tyreek Hill at the Super Bowl, and apparently somebody in his camp said, "Oh, watch out for the Chargers." And we know that there had been some Chargers fodder on his Snapchat, I guess. And that's just something we're going to have to watch out on. But it was interesting. Even like Jeff Darlington had this this take today on his, it wasn't today, it was yesterday on NFL Live, where he had said that the Dolphins have to like wonder. It was basically making the point that the Dolphins have to wonder about their culture. Are they going to make a big culture shift? And that all really stems and starts around Tyreek Hill. And while Tyreek has been, Tyreek, to be fair to him, has played through injury this year. Obviously, we all hated how it ended with him, not finishing out the game, which is kind of crazy because you figure like, hey, you've gotten this far. Why did it end the way that it did? Why did Wes Welker get canned at the end of it with his relationship with Mike? Why were there all these issues about tardiness and commitment and all that type of stuff, especially when you're a captain of the team and you've heard Teron Armstead criticize it and whatnot. This is going to be something that's going to be of interest all year. Now, once we get to the combine, Mike McDaniel and Chris Greer talk a little bit. They obviously put to bed already the comments thing. They weren't too concerned about it. But it's not going anywhere. I don't feel like this is going anywhere with Tyreek. If he's true to just because like it's one thing to say it, but Tyreek Hill says a lot of things in the media, and I don't think they carry a lot of weight because he can be a little bit flimsy on like where he stands with things, and he can always kind of just say things to be liked in that moment as well. So we'll see. That's definitely going to be an interesting thing to watch out for with all of this. But maybe there's something. Obviously, he's going to race this Noah Lyles. That's everyone's going to be excited about. Although I'm a little skeptical of that too, because here's the thing, dude. Every time Tyreek Hill says he's going to race somebody, it never happens. Because to be honest with you, I'm not really interested in whether or not Tyreek Hill could beat an Olympic sprinter. That's great. I always wanted to know who was going to be the fastest guy out of the greatest show on turf. We never got a Raheem Mostert, Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, Devon Achane, Ethan Bonner race. This is how we all learned Ethan Bonner was fast as hell, even for being intangibles. And we never got to know. We never got it. Who's the streamer? Speed. He comes out, says he's going to race Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill ducks him. So I'm still skeptical this Noah Lyles race is even happening, because it's like, oh, we don't really have a date. We don't have a distance. Seems to me like a headline grabber, dude. That's all I'm saying. The other piece of news that happened today, Durham Smythe also got released. Again, not one that I find too surprising. You're talking about like the third tight end on the depth chart for Miami. Jonnu Smith obviously having a big year. He was more of a blocking tight end anyway and wasn't as good at that anymore. Very clearly, the guy that they lean on, even though he's basically a rhinoceros on the field, is Julian Hill, who is a penalty machine. Has cost me every single week, cost me money because I bet anytime touchdown on him every single week. It has never paid off for me. It came very close twice this year, but you can't do it because he's basically out there with hooves and horns, and I can't trust him. He's basically out there to dish rag people and run things over, but sometimes he turns it into an MMA match, and he's, as they say, a very violent, tough player. So hopefully there'll be some maturity in the coming days of this. Jonnu, certainly Pro Bowl season from him. Maybe we'll get a little bump in Bay. We'll see where that goes with Jonnu. But he was paws up really awesome. Can't say that I'm too surprised. Durham Smythe is gone, the longest tenured Dolphin. Maybe he goes to Cincinnati, rooms up with Mike Gesicki, and they can be boys and have a good time. And then Kendall Fuller was also let go. Kendall Fuller was let go. 1 season for him. So this opens up about for the Dolphins $8 million in cap space following the cuts. None of these guys had guaranteed money on their deals according to Barry Jackson anyway. So none of them I think should be a surprise to anybody. We obviously got to know the future of Teron Armstead and where that's going to go. Are the Dolphins going to restructure Tua Tagovailoa, or they want to ride this out so they're not as committed long term if they don't believe in it? All things are going to be very interesting in play for the Miami Dolphins. They have a very interesting offseason ahead because they are very much at a point where do they go in a whole different direction, a slight different direction? Do they go to last year and be like, hey, Tua was hurt. Tyreek Hill was the best player in the NFL a year ago. This was a really weird season. There's fair points to that. He missed 6 games. What team that doesn't have their quarterback for 6 games do you truly believe in is going to do anything, right? Nobody wants to hear that from the fan base because, dude, 25 years, no playoff wins. Like, get the hell out of my face with the quarterback missed a half dozen games. Boo-hoo. We've heard it all before. But that is going to play a lot into, are the Dolphins going to go into a different direction? I got to be honest with you, there is a thing that bums me out slightly in that I saw that the Hard Knocks of Offseason is not coming back, and I really think that was my favorite Hard Knocks out of all this stuff. I just thought it was fascinating seeing the Giants basically implode off the field, but I would love for like organizations that were basically going into essentially a hot seat season. Like, I think if I'm an owner, a lot of people say, oh, as an owner, you don't want to be on Hard Knocks. And I get that. But also, if I'm John Mara and I know everything behind the scenes now, like it's all there for the record, and it doesn't make my GM look good. Now, good for him. He stuck by his guy. But I would love for the Miami Dolphins offseason. Like, forget in-season Hard Knocks. In-season Hard Knocks was kind of cool, but this Hard Knocks, to see how the Dolphins are going to go through all of this, would have been absolutely captivating television for me. Unfortunately, that's not going to be the case. Nobody wants to have all their warts out there like that, and that's why we are where we are. But for right now, all 3 of those vets have been let go. We'll see what the next moves are in the fold as the Miami Dolphins begins to clear out some of their cap space and cap issues.